second or third meeting here.
Don't you?
Yeah, I don't think we ever really serious.
It'll be last time he swears anybody in.
He's done.
He's not running again after a number of years.
I think so. Reggie told me.
It is 7 o'clock. Let me call to order the Highlands Town Board of Commissioners meeting for Thursday, December the 16th, 2021. First item on the agenda would be a moment of silence. And I would ask that you keep your thoughts and prayers about our fellow citizens in the state of Kentucky and the Midwest. They have suffered unbelievably with those rash of storms and tornadoes. And I know we will be thinking about them. There are opportunities like the Rotary Club where they've been taking up money to help those folks rebuild. And I'm sure Highlands will be very generous. But at this time, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now we'll all stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda will be public comments. And I will invite now the public, if you'd like to make a comment, we'd appreciate you holding it to 3 minutes or less. And I will now turn it over to anyone who would like to come forward and address the board, state your name and make a public comment. It seems like we have no public comments tonight, so let's move on to item number 4, and that is to review and approve the agenda. Do we have any changes or additions to the proposed agenda?
Move to be approved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye. Thank you. The next item will be the approval of the November 18th regular meeting minutes. Do we have any corrections or clarifications on those minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Commissioner Haynes.
I called Gibby today on item 5. It reads, Commissioner Haynes asked for item 11 to reflect that the project was effective 300 days from the date of contract. But really, it should read that liquidated damages would apply effective 300 days from the date of the contract. And
okay,
that's the only change. Correction.
okay. Any other changes? I have one minor change. In the minutes, it said I gave from the ABC board a check totaling $54,000. It was checks. It was several checks. If we'll just make that change. Any other changes?
Would they be approved as amended?
Second.
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. The next item would be the approval of the November 22nd special meeting minutes. That's on page 7 where we surplus property. Do we have any changes to that set of minutes?
Mr. Mayor, I have one change.
Okay,
It indicates that I was present at that meeting and I was not.
okay. We'll make that correction. Any other changes?
Move to be approved as amended.
Okay,
Second.
second, okay. All in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye. Thank you. All right, the next item would be the approval of the November 22nd special meeting minutes. And that was with the joint workshop with the planning board. Do we have any changes or corrections to those minutes?
I have one. I
Okay,
was not in attendance for that meeting.
all right. So noted.
And Mr. Mayor, I was not at that meeting either.
Okay, we'll make those changes. Any other changes to those minutes?
Move we approve them as presented with the modifications.
Okay. All right. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the next item will be reports, starting with the mayor's report. I will say that Josh Ward is on a family trip tonight. His plan is to join us by way of Zoom. There might be some question about when he can join us. So when he is able to join us, he will come up on our monitor. Let me go over some information about what's been going on, and Josh would be reporting on this, and that is our road paving projects that we instituted with this year's budget. They have now been completed with the finishing of Upper Lake Road. Of course, we'll be looking at new roads that need to be resurfaced, repaved, with the budget process coming up after the holidays and the new year. I also want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the parade that we had this year, which I thought was really outstanding. I really appreciate the Rosman High School Band and the Franklin High School Band being there. I thought it really added a lot to the Christmas spirit, and it was just a great event. And the town lighting also, as usual, went off wonderful. So I appreciate what the chamber does to kind of create the festive situation this time of year. And I also appreciate our town electrical crews for all their work that they do in hanging the decorations downtown. And also, I thought they did a great job on the tree behind the town hall this year, putting up the lights there. So I appreciate all the work that people do on making this a special time of the year in downtown. The other thing, Hotwire. I announced that Hotwire was planning on taking over the Altitude subscriber accounts, and at the beginning of this month. There were some technical issues there, and they're working on that with our town staff, and hopefully they will be taking over those accounts as they start to provide their service beginning January. They're also looking at a office where they will set up shop, and they want to be in the downtown area. So they're in search of an office right now. And also they will be upgrading the head end, old bathrooms. They will be putting in air conditioning, fire suppression control, and some other things in security systems in there as they go to activate their operation of the fiber network. So that will be happening. You'll see that as we go into the new year, they'll start making all those upgrades and changes. I want to also thank the planning board for the work that they're doing. They had a very productive meeting dealing with short-term rentals this week. It's a challenge. We had that joint meeting where we asked them to look at the draft proposal that our attorneys had created. And I want to thank the chairman, Brad Armstrong, the vice chairman, Darren Watley, Rick Trevathan, Helene Siegel, Chris Wilkes, and Nick McCall for the work that they have done so far. And the plan is that they will meet after the holidays, probably 2 more times before they are able to and ready to make recommendations to the board concerning that draft. So I appreciate what they have been doing. Other than that, I think that that's all the reporting that I have tonight. So I will now turn it over to any commissioners who would like to do any updates or reports.
I just have a question. Do we have a date for the retreat? Date
March.
for the retreat?
I'm not sure it's been finalized yet.
Okay.
That's something we
Usually
need.
Early February, right?
Usually February, March, yes. So we'll set that up.
Just need to get it on the calendar.
Yes, okay. Any other reports? Okay, hearing none, let's move on over to the consent agenda. Do we have any questions or comments about the consent agenda? We'll go ahead.
Move it be approved.
Well, I'll make one comment before that. I'm on the list of pulling a permit this month. I did, but I'm not adding on to my house. I'm putting up a dog fence, so I guess that's an addition, but that'll be inspected in the next week or so. Okay. Just wanted a clarification.
I'll second.
Okay. And you, Commissioner Patterson, you may move that it be approved.
Yes.
Okay, and a second. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye. Okay, thank you. The next item will be under old business. And the first thing will be a public hearing, the proposed annexation of the Ellis property. Do I have a motion that we open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye. Thank you. And Michael Mathis will now make a staff comments and recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor. So on July 13th, 2021, a petition for annexation into the town of Highlands was submitted by Wiley Ellis. Currently, Mr. Ellis owns a 44.36 acre tract that is contiguous with the Ravenel subdivision. Attached to this memo is a proposed zoning map showing the subject property, a survey by L. Stephen Foster and Associates, a letter addressed to the town of Highlands from Attorney Fred Jones explaining Mr. Ellis's position, a letter of endorsement from the Ravenel Owners Association, and an aerial image showing the subject property in relation to the town limits. And if the board elects to approve this annexation, it will have to mention the statement of consistency, and the new one is the statement of reasonableness brought on by 160D.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of Mr. Mathis? Hearing none, the next item would be opening the floor for public comments. Do we have anyone who would like to make a public comment concerning the annexation proposal? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye. Thank you very much. The next item would be council action. Do I have a motion concerning the proposed annexation?
I vote to approve. What is the right statement? The letter of consistency? Is that what you said, Michael?
Yes, the statement of consistency and the statement of reasonableness.
I
for the
move
annexation.
to approve the statement of consistency and the statement of reasonableness.
Okay,
To annex.
all right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second here? Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Signify by saying aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Was it unanimous?
Yes. Mhm.
No, you didn't ask for a file opposed.
Okay, do we have any opposed? Okay,
I have to stick by my statements during the campaign.
all right. Very good. Okay,
I have to stick by my statements during the campaign.
okay. All right. The next item would be the public hearing proposed zoning of the Ellis property R1 residential. Mr. Mathis. Well, excuse me, let me first of all, do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand and saying aye. Thank you. All right, Mr. Mathis, your staff comments and recommendation.
So all the information on that first memo that I read goes in relation with this. The only other thing I'll add is the planning board reviewed this item on August 23rd, 2021, and recommended that the property be zoned R1 residential if annexed into the town. And it is a recommendation that the property be zoned R1 residential. That's all I've got.
Okay. Next item would be public comments. I'll open the floor if anyone would like to make a public comment. The floor is open at this time. Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next item would be council action. Do we have any comments or discussion?
Move to approve the rezoning to R1, Mr. Mayor.
Petition statement of consistency and state reasons.
Move to approve the statement of consistency and the statement of reasonableness and the recommendation of the planning board to
Okay.
zone R1.
All right,
Second.
second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed?
Once it's in, I got it the zone.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good with the zone.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Okay, the next item will be the Snowfest update. Kay McKen is back with us, the director of the chamber, to update us about the specific plans for the Snow Festival.
Thank you.
Ready for this.
He's in the Christmas spirit. That's good. So Snowfest, we had the company Snow Magic in town just a few days ago, and Lester and Hank Ross from the park and Josh and Marcy and I met with them in the park and actually looked at the park and talked through it and answered everybody's questions. Everybody seemed satisfied with what was going on with that. But as you had asked the question about noise, if you look at the bottom of this spreadsheet here, I had put a little note there. There'll be one snow blowing machine, and then you can see the noise level there. I've written out, Pat had said in his article, that, just to give you an update kind of on the schedule, they will be coming in on Thursday afternoon. And then the park, I just spoke with Chief Holland, and we'll be closing the park late Thursday night, so the guys can get in there on Friday morning and begin prepping and blowing some snow. They don't think they're going to go until 10 o'clock, but they do know that there is a noise ordinance that they would have to shut everything off at 10 o'clock, according to the ordinance.
So when they're starting on Friday, and when?
They'll start on Friday morning, and part of it will depend on what's happening with the weather. If we have snow, depends on how much, they won't have to blow too very much, or they might just sleep in because we have enough snow. So they'll start, it's on here that preparation begins about 9 o'clock,
But that means snow blowing.
yeah, they'll start blowing the snow and all of that. And it's only one machine. It's not real loud.
Is the whole park going to get covered in snow?
Yeah, that was part of what we talked about. So the park, only part of the pavement, and it'll even be over there by Macon Bank. You know how there's a little slope there? We're going to make a little slide area there. And then over on the other side, closer to the ice skating rink, it'll just be kind of a covering the ground there, because we're going to set up a little area for little guys to play in the snow over there. And the merry-go-round, there will be some snow blown on the pavement area where the merry-go-round will go. So anyway, there's things on here that'll be happening in the park that we don't have written out on the schedule. This is just kind of the baseline. We've got Snowga, which is yoga in the snow. Highlands Yoga is going to be providing that. The Bascom's going to be doing some ice sculptures. They got some great Andy Goldworthy type ideas that they're going to be doing. We're working with the school athletic boosters, and they're going to be making s'mores as a fundraiser for the athletic departments. So it's turning into a great, and everybody in town and pulling together and creating this. I do have a question about lights. We were concerned about lighting the park at night since we're going into the night, and we have all the Christmas lights up right now. What we were thinking is if we took out all of the color lights that look like Christmas, we could leave the white lights, and then we can just turn those on Saturday night. And that'll provide some light for the people that are in the park there, and it'll make it a little bit brighter. And so it'll just be that one night And I spoke to our lighting designer and she said, sure, she could just remove everything that's color. And then she would come back in and make sure those go on for that one night and give us a little more visibility since we're going to be out in the park, if that's okay with you guys.
So they stay up unlit for that month.
Right, exactly. They'll stay up unlit. The last day they'll be on is on January 14th. So she'll be in, right after that, pulling everything down. So I just need to notify her and let her know if we're going to leave the other white or clear lights up in the park for that purpose. And they look great over by the skating rink too, in that little area where you enter there and everything. So. All right, any questions? Should be a lot of fun. Put it on your calendar.
Is this a mobile snow blower? So they'll go to area to area?
Yeah, they do this like all over the United States. If you Google Snow Magic, that's the company that does it. And we're like a little bitty festival. They do great, big, huge.
That's why we get one machine.
Yeah, that's why we're only getting one. He was here and I'm like, only one machine? He says, oh, easily. Yeah, so they're not too worried about. We're little guys in
And it's
comparison.
70 decibels is, I just looked it up, 60 decibels is an air conditioning unit running from 60 feet away.
Oh, okay, all right.
So that gives you an idea what it would sound like.
But I would be amazed that it's 70 decibels, only
Yeah.
70 decibels, especially at 10 to 20 feet, but we'll see.
Yeah. And they know about noise ordinance. Like I made sure they knew about that and, times on that. And they,
Isn't it
Didn't
on
seem
a
to
truck
think it'd be
though? Am I dreaming that, or did we have that conversation?
Maybe they-
'Cause
I don't know if it's on a truck. I haven't seen the
I just
actual
thought
machine
they
except
had a way of
pictures of it.
muffling the sound a little bit, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
They have a machine, but the compressor they're pulling in for that is on a trailer. It'll be a trailer mounted unit that hooks on to their snow blower. And then it'll set in one position, they'll have a hose that'll reach all the way through the park.
Yeah.
A single person with the hose.
Just
doing
on
the
the,
snow.
on the fire hydrant or what?
No, they're bringing in ice. They're bringing in truckloads of ice.
Oh,
And it goes through the machine and makes the snow. Is what I understood.
Yeah.
You understood?
You know more of the technical stuff than I do.
That's what he said. Because they asked about, I think y'all increased, or we decided to use an area that he didn't think was, he said
Right.
that we'll just have to bring in an extra truckload of ice.
So it's not a conventional snow blower.
I've always used waters.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that's what I thought we were gonna have.
Huge
a
amount.
Fire
If-
hydrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, well, obviously, if the temperature's not below freezing, then I guess that's why they're saying, they must have modified it somehow with ice, because like I said, if it's like 40 or 50 degrees, they're not gonna make snow out of just water, I guess.
Well, I fear Mother Nature's probably going to snow and we're not even going to need them.
Okay, everybody's raving about how good the park looks.
Oh,
My
good.
wife didn't want to know if you do the tree by the police department. I told her I'd ask.
No, we do all of the park and
She
we
wanted to
do
know if
the
you would-
trees down the middle.
She
Yeah,
wanted
the
to know if
trees
you
down
would
the
do it.
middle look
Your
great.
guys do a great job putting everything else up. So it's a
Beautiful.
team effort.
But she
All right.
wanted to know if you would do the tree by the police department.
Oh, if we would do
Yeah,
the
she-
tree
I
by
told
the
her I would
police
ask.
department. Okay. Well, we'll have to look at the budget.
All right.
Well, and I think that the
Well, one of the
size of
problems
the
is you have to have.
telescoping
You gotta have a-
cherry picker.
Yeah, I don't think our designer
He
has
doesn't-
one
they
that
don't have
high.
one that size.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's way up
It's
there.
way on up there.
They'd be throwing it over the top. Right, any questions?
Everybody's fine with the idea of leaving up the lights so people can see. Whatever.
Is that good? Okay,
All right,
great.
thank you.
Yeah, Thanks,
All
guys.
right. Okay. That concludes our old business, but before we stop, I want to take time to say something. It's not on the agenda, but it's important. And that is Commissioner Callaway will be going off the board in just a few minutes with the new business, which is the swearing in of new people. I'm going to miss Commissioner Callaway, Donnie being on this board. He decided not to run this time, but he has been on the town board for 24 years of service. And he has really provided a perspective because he has been a Highlander and has given us a history and a sense of what this community is about. And he's also provided a lot of guidance, especially when I first became mayor. His advice and guidance was just so important, and I've continued to rely on his insights and guidance, and I'll continue to do that even though he's leaving the board. But I wanted to just simply, on behalf of the board, present to you, Donnie, this plaque that commemorates your years of service on the town board. It's presented to Donnie Calloway in appreciation of your 8 years of service, dedicated and outstanding service to as a town commissioner, but also all those other years that and that you've been a great Highlander. And we just really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Can you say one thing? It's been an honor and a privilege to serve the town. Can't believe everybody would vote for me for 24 years. But anyway, thank y'all very much. And as I said at the employee meeting, depending on the slate of officers or the candidates coming in, I may run again in 2 years, so I'm not retired. I'll just let you know that. So thank y'all. It's been a pleasure to serve with most of you, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Everyone go to the ugly dog.
Okay.
Are you buying? Okay.
Okay, Donnie has left the building.
Not yet, it's back.
He's back.
Bring it still here.
Okay. Okay, next will be new business, and that will be the swearing in of the newly elected mayor and town board members. I want to personally, though, thank Vic Perry, the clerk of the Macon County Superior Court, who once again has come down and agreed to swear in the new officers. And I want to say I thank Vic for his service. This will be the last time he'll be swearing in any officers from Highlands, because Vic also decided not to run again as the clerk of Macon County Superior Court. So this will be his last term and his last opportunity to swear our newly elected officers in. And I want to thank Vic for all you've done over the years for the county, and let us now do the swearing in. So Amy, Commissioner Patterson, and Commissioner Pearson, if you'll come up. Okay.
Oh, that'd be last. That was,
I solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States, the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina. Not inconsistent therewith. And I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as mayor. Thank you. All right, say I and state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States, Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as commissioner All right, let us move on to the next item, which is item 11, review board procedures and protocols. Before I do that, I want to thank my wife, Sally. She's here in the audience tonight for her support and understanding as I've been the mayor for 8 years and now will wind up being the mayor for 12 years. She has always been a steady supporter of mine. And there've been many times when we had plans that had to be changed because, you know, the duties of being the mayor of Highlands have been the priority. And I appreciate everything that Sally does to help me. Want to thank the people that that supported me in this last bid for being your mayor for another 4 years. It's an honor that I take serious and work at it as hard as I can to serve this community. Just wanted to go over some of the procedures that we need to kind of you know, underscore again. And one would be that we need to remember that we are a manager council form of government. Josh Ward is not here tonight, but you know, as we work, we need to work together. If we have any concerns or any folks that are reporting an issue, we need to work with Josh as our town manager, whose charge is to actually operate the town from day to day. And he will then work with the department heads and other staff people to make sure that any issue is addressed in a timely manner, in a proper way. I will say sometimes I get calls for people who are saying that an issue hasn't been addressed. And then when I do talk with our town manager and our staff, sometimes they get a different story. Sometimes we can't respond as quickly as people like or the way they want us to respond. But we do want to serve the people of Highlands and work to make this the best run city we possibly can have. The other thing is I've listed a series of committees that I'm asking that our board members serve on in the coming year. These committees are very important in that they provide guidance on certain critical issues to different departments when we need to plan and review and address a problem before it comes before the board. So I appreciate our commissioners' willingness to serve on those committees. I will point out, though, they're not an oversight committee of a particular department. They're there, the committees are there just to simply help solve problems when they might, you know, present themselves. The other thing is the policy on iPads and paperless transactions. Under the policies that we've been following now for over a decade, Commissioner Pearson and Commissioner Patterson and myself are eligible to have a new electronic device, an iPad or a tablet, to be purchased for your use so we can continue to you know, send things out electronically and digitally. So if you would like a new iPad, we'll certainly get with you and make sure that's done. And Amy, if you need a new one, you've used yours for a long period of time, that will be the same in your case. So if any other commissioners need a new upgraded device, we will certainly take that in consideration and make sure that's done. Now, with that said, let me just now go on to the next item, and that will be the audit presentation by both Hildebrand of Martins and Starnes Associates. Is he available?
Was he coming by Zoom? Oh,
He's coming in by Zoom. He's zooming in.
Hey, evening, everyone. Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so let me
Before
get
you
my,
start, has Josh been able to connect with us yet? Okay. Go ahead.
okay. Again, my name is Bo Hildebrand and I'm with Martin Starnes and Associates. We have done the audit this year again. And as always, it's a pleasure to be your external auditors once more. So we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation of this year's audit and its highlights. Just keep in mind, we're halfway through fiscal year 2022. So this data is as of June 30th, 2021. So coming into the audit highlights here, we have issued an unmodified opinion, or in other words, a clean opinion. That's the best we can give in terms of opinions. Another highlight for this year's audit was the GASB 84 was implemented, and GASB 84 had to deal with custodial agency and fiduciary funds. And then next year, we are going to be looking at leases being implemented with the GASB 87. Also new to this year, the LGC, or Local Government Commission, had performance indicators, and these are now self-reporting. And so we'll discuss that in another slide. So here we're moving on to the general fund summary. As you can tell, we have 2020 on the left, 2021 on the right. Overall, the revenues have increased from prior year, and expenditures have also increased. Most of this increase in revenue is from the CARES Act funds. And most of the increase in expenditures is from an increase in the cultural and recreation expenditures and within that department. And also there's a increase due to the capital outlay relating to the renovation of the bathhouses. That's what we come to. Go ahead to the next slide for us. So here on this slide, we have the total fund balance of the general fund across 3 years. As you see, it has steadily rose. An increase there from last year was at 203,000 approximately, and leading up to 2021 being about 4.4 million with the total fund balance of the general fund. So this was approximately 5% increase from prior year. So here in the next slide, we have the fund balance position per the general fund. And here is the total fund balance on that first line there, 4.4 million. That was the previous slide. Going down to available fund balance, that is at 3.9 million. This was the increase from the available fund balance from 2020. That increase was $141,524. And again, the available fund balance as defined by the LGC is calculation utilized as a basis for comparing you and to other units and calculating your fund balance percentages. And also this calculation is in the notes to the financial statements. So available fund balance is a percent of expenditures and transfers within the general fund here. The percent changed here from last year was about 0.8%. Available fund balance was again 3.9 million, approximately, almost 4. So what this slide is saying is you'll be able to cover 64% of the expenditures with your available fund balance for the upcoming year if you had no other revenues come in. Here on this slide, we give a 3-year comparison of the ad valorem taxes. There was just a slight increase there from 2020 to 2021, pretty comparable, ended up being about 51,000 or 1.78%. We'll go on to the next slide for us. Other taxes and licenses. So here you can see a bit of a more jump from 2020 to 2021 that rose approximately 11.6% from prior year. And primary contributor is the local option sales tax. And this increase ended up being about $140,000. Move on to the general government expenditures. Here we had a decrease there. I mean, an increase from 2020 to 2021. You'll see that there was that decrease from 2019 to 2020. But the increase mainly for this year from last year was due to the fiber build out and the CARES due to the salaries and operating expenses. This increase was around 2% or $40,000. Public safety expenditures here on the 3-year comparison, pretty comparable to last year. There's a slight increase. Excuse me, there was a decrease there, about $16,000 or 1.2%. Cultural and recreation expenditures, I touched on this a few slides back, being a primary increase. So a lot of this was due to capital outlay concerning renovations, and this was about a 23% increase from prior year at roughly $204,000. Okay, I'm going to touch on the enterprise funds here. So there we had the cash flow from operations at around $4 million. Total net position combined was $35 million. Unrestricted net position at 8.4, and then the change in net position at $3 million. I'm going to briefly talk about that change in net position. I'm going to give you a breakout of that. So the electric fund increased in its net position $3.2 million, and sanitation increased in net position roughly $222,000. There was a decrease in the water sewer of $403,000, which all those combined equals the $3,051,323. I'd like to touch on performance indicators here. Along with the submission of the audit to the LGC, we have this LGC data input sheet, which is required to complete with various other financial information. So Rebecca reviews this, the finance director, and certifies this template to be submitted. This template analyzes the data and compiles results as performance indicators. This is new to this year. There was an indicator noted this year, and it was with the electric transfers out. And the LGC just wanted to have some information concerning the electric transfers out, and what that information would be is, per the transfers note in the financials, the transfers were used for capital expenditures in the water sewer capital project funds and the capital and operating expenditures and sanitation fund. The LGC has a calculation, and so in this calculation, there just was a little bit more electric transfers than that was over their calculation. So that's why there was performance indicator. Now, going down to the second point there on findings, there was a segregation of duties as a significant deficiency. Again, a significant deficiency is not as critical as a material weakness. So just keep that in mind. This is a finding that's common among many small towns, and the town must consider its resources and its cost benefit analysis when addressing the segregation of duties, significant deficiency. And then also there was a controls over inventory as a significant deficiency. And this was during our inventory observation, we noticed some items that were not correct, and we spoke with management on this matter. this time if there's any questions for me.
I'll make a couple of comments. The board didn't get a copy of the audit yet. But we're- Oh. Okay, all right. Okay, and then concerning the inventory issue that you're talking about, Mr. Hildebrand, and I had a conversation with our town manager about that. The requirement to include an inventory within the audit is relatively new to the town in that we've been doing this for 30 years. And I think this is the second or third year that we've been trying to do an inventory. Our concern, or my concern, is that, you know, in our electric department, other departments, you have small items, nuts and bolts and things like that. At what point do you try to inventory all those small items and account for them, and how you do that versus the big items like the transformers, the spools of cable and so forth? I know that you've been in discussions with our staff about setting up some type of new procedure for inventorying materials in those areas. So I just wanted to make that statement. It gets down to, again, how do you keep up with, you know, small amounts of materials that you have to have in order to keep a electrical system going, especially in time of a, you know, a outage due to weather and so forth. So.
Okay, so just to touch on our process briefly here. So at the year end, usually July 1st, we go into inventory observation, and none of the items that we tend to find that's perhaps been miscounted, or, you know, large items, usually they're small items. And so for the process, I can't really give a opinion on that at this moment. Feel free, can contact with you after the presentation via email. But so basically, just make sure that everything is, you know, really detailed, counted the day that we come, or the day before that we come, so that we can just make sure that those are correct.
Okay. And I'm going to ask our Public Works Director, do you have any response or insight about this issue?
Very difficult. I actually brought the inventory with me. It is for example, this is one from 3 years ago. It's very tedious. This would be just the water, just pass it down. This would be the electrical. Just pass it down. It's very difficult. I mean, our guys do the best that we can possibly do to count these. And Martin Starnes is very easy to work with. There's no doubt about that. But it is very difficult to count these items that accurately. And they randomly pick 5, 6 items and say, what is that and how many are there? And hopefully you have the right number and you can actually identify. As you can look from that, it's not exactly easy to identify the numbers associated with an item. We can work on it to improve it, but I don't know if we'd ever get it completely perfect. That is a very large inventory of both departments, but I think Bo is correct. I mean, for the most part, it's the small items. It's hard to, you get a big bin of stuff, and you may count 52, and then when they say how many, you might get 51 the next day. It's very hard to count those small items accurately.
But we'll work on trying to develop a more accurate system.
And 1 of 50 is different than 1 of 200.
You can see the price on it. Some of that stuff, I mean, your big ticket items are worth a lot of money. When you get down to the smaller things, it's not.
I mean,
The difference of
but-
one is not very valuable.
Right. All I'm saying though is it's also a difference in like percentage. You're over 10% or under 10%. Well, You know, if you had one of 50, that's different from one of 200.
That's correct. Mr. Hildebrand, is there a base, as far as these items that are inventoried? Is there a base price of items that do not count? Like anything under $1, anything under $5? That are we expecting to nuts and bolts that cost 10 of them for 95 cents? Are we expected to keep track of those as they fall through the cracks of the bin that they're located in?
So we're provided with the inventory sheet, and when we come for the observation, anything we see in those in the warehouses that's considered inventory is say fair game, and it is random. And so to answer your question, there's not really a base necessarily, but the inventory as a whole isn't a huge part of the town's financials. But during observation, you know, when we pick these random items, if something's incorrect, we are required to bring it to your attention.
Any other questions of Mr. Hildebrand?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank y'all for your attention during the presentation, and I hope everyone has a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, ma'am.
But the majority of the board has to sign. So in January, we'll see that from Josh.
Sign off in the sense that we acknowledge that, but we
Yeah, those are
understand
the
it.
things that they found. While we do it, the electric fund was kind of caught Josh and I off a little bit because it was new this year. And there is a state statute for a certain agency. So the statute is directed at those towns and that agency, not us. So we're not in violation of the statute, but they're kind of holding us to the best practice. And then along with the inventory it has not been right the last 3 or 4 years. But that goes along with everything else they do in the town as well. Giving like sheet bill, you know, invoices out, I don't know how many checks a year. 10,000. How many checks she writes every single year? They come in and pick a handful of those checks and make sure we have the POs over our PO limit. They make sure that it's been checked by me, and make sure it's been signed off on by the town manager, make sure whatever. So we could easily get wrote up for something that's not procedurally done by error from 1 out of 10,000 on that as well, not just the inventory. I mean, so it's just a procedure. So yes, they miscount.
But why can't they just expense it when they buy it? I mean, I don't understand that.
We don't have the software to really do that.
Like, I guess and because I deal with something similar.
But we used to do it at Willis too. We had to count the nuts and bolts too.
Yeah. But like, I always felt like inventory just leads you to hang on to stuff that you would otherwise have used or gotten rid of.
Exactly.
And so like, then all this stuff accumulates. And then you have the problems, like it just gets pushed to the back. I mean, so I wish you could, and then it also would lead to like it would also help the town in that you wouldn't be buying, like if it's not gonna be expensed on your budget, it's not gonna, you're less likely to order more of it, you know what I mean?
But I just wanted to say, it's just one of the few things they actually look at. Like, so much on payroll, make sure all the different teeth.
And then one other thing, that every year they talk about the redundancy in staff positions and jobs. The solution to that would be for us just to double our administrative staff, correct? And separate things into different categories.
Yes. But I will also tell you that is not one of the deals that I bring back to you in January, because they know that that is spread out across the state.
Small town.
And they don't even want us to address it. So that is not one of the ones we have to address. We have to address the electric transfer.
Okay.
Other than that.
Thank you. All right, our last item, a budget amendment, Arnold Road Pump Station Rehab, Lamar Nix.
I don't have much detail you want me to go into, so I'll start brief and give you a few details. The sewer pump station on Arnold Road needs rehab. We started having trouble with it in August. Due to the world we're living in today, parts are extremely hard to get your hands on. For example, one of the issues we had was a volute for a pump. Put in an order to get one in July. We got it last week. Our contractor that's going to install it got their hands on it. They didn't actually even deliver it to us. They sent it the wrong one, but we got it. Meanwhile, you have a motor that goes bad. In the effort to get a new electrical motor, you realize this pump station was built in 2000 on Arnold Road. That motor and the motor frame, the RPM, the whole combination has become fairly obsolete. So getting a new one or get one off the shelf is not going to happen. You have to commission the company to retool and build that. So you're looking out several months. The issue is, we're having trouble with parts. It's basically worn out. One pump is down. The other one we've had to cannibalize to keep working. We've had to rent a diesel powered backup pump that comes on as needed in case that one fails, which we've done at a pretty good cost per month. And that's how we're working today. After you dive into all the nuts and bolts of this thing and realize the almost impossibility of getting parts to keep this thing up, you come to the realization it's time to rehab this pump station with equipment that you can get your hands on and you can replace and get enough parts to keep it going. So that's what you have in front of you, is a proposal for a budget amendment to rehab Arnold Road Pump Station.
So what's the normal life of a pump station, do you know, or is there a ballpark?
I'd say 20 to 30 years, and this is in that window.
So I mean, do we need to start thinking about like you rotate police cars or would rotate, yeah, you know, a paving or whatever it is that we have on your capital improvements or your garbage trucks or whatever are kind of on a rotational basis. Do we need to start thinking about doing some of that?
You have three real big pump stations, this being the second biggest one. The biggest one is not obviously that one's one at Mill Creek, and it is set up with 3 pumps. And fortunately, that gives you a little bit of extra room for error. When one goes down, you still got 2. Plus we have a spare at any given time. So I feel pretty good about that one, just keeping it maintained. The third largest one is the same type pump station we're having trouble with now, and it's not quite aged out, and that's at Mirror Lake. It's probably only 10 years. So in 10 years, yes, I agree. Some of the other pump stations are much, much smaller, and we actually have spare parts on hand for those. I feel pretty comfortable with them, but as we see them wearing out, you're correct. We need to probably look a little bit more forward. This one caught us by surprise. Always in the past, you've been able to get a motor, get a pump, but not right now.
Because we're talking just about sewer pumps right now. We have a lot of water pumps too.
Yes. Most of those are not hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, right.
So far.
At this stage.
So far.
I move we approve the budget amendment to rehab the Arnold Road pump station.
Second.
Second. Okay, any further discussion?
Should we mention the amount of money?
Yes.
It's in the agenda.
Right, but I mean,
350,000.
300 and what, 35? 50.
It says right
Okay.
here, 350,000.
Going back to the inventory. When we plumbed in this backup diesel operated pump for a backup, thank goodness we had enough inventory on hand to make a tap and build a connection for this thing. And our crew was able to do that in half a day as one was being delivered from Charlotte. So we're a little bit isolated, so good thing that.
So we have this on the floor. I would make this comment. This is a critical part of your operation, Lamar. So I'm not giving you a blank check, but if you need more equipment or what, do not hesitate to come back to this board and update us on any needs that might take place.
My intention is for this pump station to be very right
Okay.
and be in good shape when we get through with it.
We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Got a second? Okay. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lamar. That comes to the end of our agenda. I wanted to say one thing. In my report, I was thanking the planning board, and I left one planning board member off who's in our audience tonight. Linda Willard is here. Again, that was just a handwriting oversight, but I appreciate what the planning board is doing with their work. All right, that's the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.